Bjorn, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
What brings you to Summit 2017?
The World Future Energy Summit here in Dubai brings together a lot of companies, governments, media, and to discuss the future of energy. And clearly Statoil has been part of the energy business for 40 years and would like to be part of the future. So for us it's a great place to meet up and discuss with some of our old partners, but also meet some new partners to how to shape the future going forward.
So you head up sustainability at Statoil, and that's been running for 40 years. What is the impetus behind that?
No, so in sustainability in Statoil, put bluntly, that's about how we as a company relate to the societies we're part of, but also how we relate to nature. So taking care of, ensuring coexistence with fisheries, minimizing the use of natural resources, and also behaving in a very transparent and ethical way and responsible way towards communities. Over the last couple of years, of course, the issue of climate has become ever more important. So now that's a very, very core, not only of the sustainability, but even the company strategy.
You're practicing carbon capture and storage, and you've already stored 23 million tonnes up to 2015. Is that something you're going to expand on? Are you going to grow that carbon capture?
You're right, that actually for nearly 20 years now, we have been working with carbon capture and storage. So what we've been doing is that we've been capturing CO2 and storing that in deep geological layers for a permanent storage. And we have captured nearly 23 million tons, as you said, big volume, representing the emissions from thousands and even millions of cars. So we still believe in that technology. I think we've proven that it's a technically viable technology. And going forward, I'm convinced that for us, in order to be able to manage the climate challenge, we will need to continue to develop that technology. So yes.
What's quite interesting for an oil and gas company, you've developed the first utility scale floating wind turbine. Where has that come from?
Yeah, it's great. We're excited about that. So, it's the interesting thing. It's coming from our within the oil and gas industry competence that sits inside our company. So it's being the world's biggest offshore oil and gas company. We looked when we started looking into renewables. We believe that we can make a difference into offshore wind. Offshore, the wind blows more heavily, more steady. You can offer more scale. So in the long term, we believe in that business proposition. And then we have experience from marine installations, marine structures, running operations offshore. So actually nearly 8-9 years ago, our engineers put their minds to work on how could we build something really innovative offshore, and came up with a concept that's a floating wind turbines, because most countries don't have a continental shelf where you can put on shallow water. So being able to target deeper waters with more wind, more steady conditions is important for us.
So what next in the sustainability market?
We have set up a business area now, reporting to our Chief Executive Officer, to drive our growth into the renewables. Of course, we have now built a portfolio that will be able to deliver nearly electricity to 1 million households, starting off in the UK, also moving into Germany. And now recently we also secured leases to possibly develop wind farms offshore in the US, outside New York City. I think you would see us growing in that space. And if we realize all the projects that we have now, we can actually deliver electricity to 5 million households. And that's a lot of people.
That's impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, and we're excited about it because we believe renewables offers up some very interesting business opportunities for Statoil. And we're helping to provide low carbon energy to the world.
So what's most exciting you about this sector?
I think for an oil and gas company, it's easy to become protective and say, hey, we need to change the way we do. But if you look at it differently and say, hey, there's a lot of business opportunities, there's amazing opportunities to still be able to provide a lot of energy to people, change ordinary people's lives, and then also develop new technologies that we haven't thought would be possible only a couple of years ago. I think that's amazing. So I think it's a remarkable period to be part of the energy business.
So what does the future hold for Statoil and renewables?
I think you will see over time Statoil will try to grow its second leg. In most respects, you know, we have invested nearly $3 billion over the last years. So by most comparisons, that's a huge business. Inside our company, it's still fairly small. But over time, I think you will see us gradually growing that share to become a very significant player and a fine company into the renewable space as we're in the oil and gas space. But could I say that for climate, for us, it's not only about growing renewables. It's also to make sure that the oil and gas activity is produced with the right oil and gas and also as efficiently as possible in order to bring the carbon emissions down. And actually, if you look at the numbers, the climate impact of getting the oil and gas right is nearly as important as growing the renewables, because the world is still running 80% on fossil fuels. So how we produce them, how we consume them, will be terribly important for many, many years. So we need to have an eye on improving that one as well as the renewables.
Yes, there are new technologies that are looking to improve the extraction by 3 to 5% through carbon capture and storage, and then getting more oil out of the same fields, which gives you an efficiency.
But what I'm kind of excited about is new technologies to reduce the energy we use when we produce energy. Because inside the oil and gas industry, the emissions themselves are quite significant. And they are coming from turbines and compressors being used by the industry to develop oil and gas fields. So we're looking at replacing, could we use renewables to run our compressors? Could we to what extent could we use digitalization and sensors to really accelerate energy efficiency in those turbines and machinery? And over the last nearly 10 years, we made a lot of progress on that. So making Statoil now today the most carbon efficient producer of oil and gas in the world.
Yeah, you've made a 10% reduction in your CO2 emissions.
Yeah, even more than historically. But yeah, I mean, I set a target to, despite us being on top, let's try to improve that even further. So for a 2020 target, and we will also be putting out a even longer term target shortly.
Well, we'll follow you with great interest. Bjorn,
Thank you for that.
thank you for your time.
Thanks. Great to be here.